in executive session, the main office conference room pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-4 and 5 for the purposes of discussion of new superintendent's contract pursuant to General Laws 42-46-5A1, discussion of personnel pursuant to 42-46-5A1, legal advice pursuant to 42-46-5A1, discussion of collective bargaining pursuant to 42-46-5A2, discussion for contract for physical plant manager pursuant to 42-46-5A1, memorandum of agreement pursuant to 42-46-5A1, and then a consider and vote to adjourn and return. Do we have a motion?
I move to convene into executive session.
We have a motion by Ms. Ezanero.
A second.
We have a second by Ms. Beauchene. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A1, any persons being discussed or affected will give an advance notice of the executive meeting in writing and advise that they may require such discussion be held at an open meeting. No request was made. We are in executive. Call the public session back to order. If we could stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would like to report that there were no votes taken other than the votes to return to open session, 5-0. And I will entertain a motion to seal the executive session minutes pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42, 46, 4, and 5.
Move to seal the
I have a
minutes.
motion by Ms. Azanero. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bouchane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
The next item is Student Liaison Grant Wozencroft.
And actually, in
No.
place of
Right-
Grant?
No, right here. This young
Oh, there
lady
she is, okay.
Grant's playing
So-
lacrosse tonight.
Yeah,
He-
so is it Gayatri?
Gayatri.
Gayatri.
Yes.
Gayatri Bukta.
Yes,
So
Grant's playing lacrosse.
she will present the student liaison report, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gayatri Bhakta, the new student liaison for EPHS. We have many exciting events happening in our community as we prepare to wrap up the school year. EPHS had the great honor of hosting the State of the Education address on Monday. Also, our environmental club planted trees around the community for community members last Saturday as part of their Tree Plenish program. Our art department has had a very successful exhibition at Hunts Mills last Sunday. There was great turnout from the EP community to support our students. The art department is also organizing an art and fashion show this upcoming Tuesday at EPHS, as well as an Empty Bowls fundraiser to support the local food pantry. This week has been Spirit Week at EPHS, and we've had great participation as students dress according to the day's theme to show their towny pride. The junior class is holding 2 upcoming fundraisers. There will be a car wash on June 11th at EPHS and a fundraiser with Chipotle on June 6th. As the year draws to the close, we have also had a few important exams taking place. The junior class took the SATs before April break and the NGSA science testing last Tuesday and Friday. AP tests have also been happening these past few weeks, and they're wrapping up now. As our seniors prepare to graduate, there are various events to recognize their achievements during their time at EPHS. The CTC certificate ceremony will take place on May 19th, and the senior athlete banquet will be on June 1st. Graduation will be held on June 3rd at Pierce Field. In sports news, the Townies girls lacrosse team is so far undefeated and atop Division III with 10 wins and 0 losses. The boys' tennis team is also atop their division at 8-1. The boys' volleyball team is doing well with 9 wins and only 2 losses. The softball team has 6 wins and 6 losses and has a good chance to make it into the playoffs. The middle school teams are also doing well. The RMS baseball team is undefeated. The RMS softball team stands at 5-1, and the Martin softball team is at 4-1. That is all I have for tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I believe Ms. Bukta is our student liaison for the next school year, correct? So
Nice.
we have a little preview, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda with communications, correspondence, homeschool requests, and approval of minutes for the April 12th, 2022 executive session and open session school committee meetings, and the May 2nd, 2022 special joint school committee / city council meeting, and the April 11th, 2022 building committee meeting.
Any questions or comments? We have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next item, please.
Next item is PTO, PTA, EPLAC reports.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm here to report for EPLAC. So our monthly meeting was held on April 27th at Martin Middle School. We hosted an informational meeting with a Q&A regarding the newly proposed inclusion program for Martin and Riverside Middle Schools with Dr. Ferrand and Ms. Anderson. The meeting was very thorough with information, and they answered all the questions from the parents and attendants, and we really appreciate that. Thank you. We are looking forward to seeing this new program implemented, as it will be giving our IR students more inclusion and also offers more supports to other students who might need it in science and history classes. As always, we are thankful for the collaboration with our special ed admin to consider our parental concerns. At our next monthly meeting on May 25th, we will host a workshop for parents called Starting and Organizing Your IEP Binder. This workshop will cover the importance of having an IEP binder as a parent and caregiver as a tool to help advocate for your child and better prepare you for any upcoming meetings. Finally, we are really excited to end our year with our annual recognition night. The event will be highlighting all the wonderful staff and support personnel who have provided consistent and outstanding services for special education students, especially in the area of inclusion. This year is our 14th annual, and we'll be hosting it right here at the high school in collaboration with our culinary team next Wednesday. All guests have already been invited, and we would like to thank everyone who sent in a nomination. It was very difficult this year to choose, but we are very grateful for everyone's nominations. We had a great response. We also want to thank you, the school committee, and our admin for your financial support. Without your support, hosting this event would not be possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see any others. Next item.
The next item is public comments 1, agenda items.
Sharon, for the record, notice Tony used to bring those to you.
Nothing. Oh,
There are none. Before we get to the next item, if the committee doesn't mind, we do have an action item that I want to amend and potentially address now while we have a few folks here. Action item number 15 was to approve a resolution to the General Assembly to enact the school bond ballot item for November 2022. We've since received clarification that that resolution is done by the City Council, not required by the school committee. However, we do have our friends from Peregrine and AI3 here to answer any questions that might be left over from the joint meeting presentation. And if the committee would like to entertain amending that action to simply be a letter from the school committee to the council in support of them passing that resolution, then that's how I would proceed. But with the committee's permission, I would like to have, or at least entertain any questions to that item at this time. Any objection to that?
I'm okay with that.
So,
move it up. You want a motion to move
I
it
make
up?
a motion to move up
yeah,
the
so we have
discussion item.
a motion, and I'll take that as a second from Ms. Azanaro. Motion by Ms. Boshain,
Number 2.
second by Ms. Azanaro to move this item up. Any, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we have Mr. Sam Bradner and Mr. Jim Jordan, and I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting.
Ann
Thank you. Ann, thank you. Ann
Dissel.
Yeah, you're supposed to be my help on that one.
Me?
One of you.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
Oh,
So,
I was just wondering why he was getting up again.
so again, we had that joint meeting with what I felt was a very informative session, presentation of information. Just wanted to give the school committee an opportunity to ask any questions, make any comments to the project manager and architectural team. You have a question?
No, I think they were pretty thorough at the last meeting.
Yeah, I also don't have any questions. The
I-
presentation
with this-
was very good.
You made them come down
I
for
mean, this
nothing.
is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we need to do this. Say, yes. Thank you.
All right. So that was
That was short.
pretty easy for you, right?
No other questions?
So, and again, I do want to publicly state, obviously, we received that presentation, which was concept and, total budget number not to exceed, and that's the resolution that the council will be entertaining at their meeting on the 17th to go to the General Assembly. And just like with this high school project, there'll be several presentations before this committee as the project kind of defines itself and we go through those steps. So again, I thank everyone for coming out. And I'm glad I didn't have you wait until later in the meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow.
Next item, please.
The next item is the superintendent's report.
Unless Sam would like to do my report, maybe, before he goes. Okay, the first agenda item on my report is the first 10 presentation by Karen Rebello and Lindsay Riley, if they'd come forward with their presentation and explanation of this program.
So I just want to state that they did this at Weaver Library, and it was an amazing. So I did ask them to come today, and I thank you for this.
All right, so the presentation we have is going to be a little bit different than, because Ms. Asnero and Ms. Beauchesne really were impressed with the community school piece, but I do feel it's only important to talk about First 10 as a whole, and it will only be 5 minutes. Ms. Verand, Dr. Verand, 5 minutes. So First 10 is let me read it because it's from their website and I don't want to do it wrong. It was started in 2019. It's under the Education Development Center for the for all of the states in United States. Back in May 2019, after completing a grant award to develop a community-wide K-transition plan, we were asked by the state of Rhode Island to pilot what is new and up and coming pretty much throughout the United States. It's probably in 5 to 7 states currently only. So we were asked out of us and 2 other cities, Johnston and Woonsocket, to pilot this program and do this work for East Providence. So that was really exciting news for us and a great start for us to think about it. That was followed up by several meetings and with some really key players, not only in the school department, but like in some of our community settings. Dr. Fran was on it, and we talked a lot about all of the things that could come or that the schools could use and collaborate with the community on to provide family supports for kids from the age of 0 to 10. Okay, so, the concept is, especially with the social emotional learning pieces of COVID now that we have the endemic, but even prior to that, is, we all know, so important to really work through and give support to families on. So, next slide, please, Alfred. From that came this group of individuals. So this is us. This is the first 10 team for East Providence. You'll see school staff here, but you'll also see staff from EBCAP, the HES program in East Providence, the state pre-K that's in our community action program. A lot of the staff on this are teachers, as you can see. They all are a huge piece. And in the front next to me is our favorite person, and somebody you'll hear a little bit more about, our family navigator who sits currently in Hennessy School. So this isn't just a school department group. As I was saying, it's 0 to 10. So we need to provide supports through school, through getting the word out through school to kids from when they're first born. Next slide, please. So this is the way that they explain it. So the EDC is at the top. I cannot see that writing like that, sorry. So it's the Early Learning Development Center. It was launched in 2019, and this project started guided by the vision.
Hey, Kara.
You can't hear me? You can't hear me? Do you want this?
No, she can take that off.
All children learn and thrive. The first 10 assist community partnerships in taking action to improve outcomes for children ages birth through 10 and their families. And this is under the direction of David Jacobson. He was another person. He works for the first 10 through the EDC. So he does a lot of the work with us to spread this out throughout the district. Basically, the goals of this group is to bridge the gap between early childhood, elementary school, and health and human services. We all know the younger you start with kids, the better outcomes you will have. So the top 4 things that we look at doing is supporting professional collaboration to improve teaching and learning. We coordinate comprehensive services. We promote culturally responsive partnerships with families, and we provide strategic leadership and ongoing assessment. So as you can see, not all of that stuff comes from just the school. It's a definite collaboration of professionals to get this work done. Next slide. So in this approach, First 10 is basically responding to what is truly important. These comprehensive First 10 approaches require a fundamental shift in thinking, and the new mindset begins by thinking of the first 10 years as a continuum of high-quality experiences that should be coordinated, aligned, and focused on equity. As they translate and shift into action, leaders restructure and reconceptualize the relationships among elementary schools, early childhood programs, community agencies, and families with young children. We know it takes all of that to raise a kid. It starts at home, but it really, really takes a lot of work together to raise kids. Okay, next one. So I'm just going to talk to you about effective schools, basically. This, again, is the hierarchy of what they do. All children learn and thrive. Their top 3 tiers of doing this is collaborate and improve teaching and learning. That's why you have all those teachers on that on our committee. We work directly with kids in the classrooms on these projects. Coordinate comprehensive services, that's your EBCAP, the Play and Learns, the community school, all of those types of things. And then the most important part of this is partnering with families, because the younger we can get them involved in education, the better off their children's lives will be too. So we lead this strategically, and continuously we improve strong families and healthy communities. Next slide. So I want you to just take a look at this. I'm not going to read them all. You can clearly see, biggest funding source, local government, right? But then all these branches pretty much make up what a First 10 community partnership is. We look for all of these outside areas to be part of this team. And that's how we are very able, or should be able, to meet the needs of all of the children that really require services. And that is going to bring us to our community school, which is really the highlight of tonight's. Again, this is a huge project, and we don't want to belittle the First 10 by saying that all of the parts aren't important, because they are very important. But it really does hit home for the school committee when we talk about the actual community school piece.
Okay, so Hennessy, we were excited about the opportunity to start some of the work as a community school. I'd say we were in the beginning phases of that, and the first step was for us to host a family navigator at our school who works in partnership with our school-based team. So we have a family navigator that works for EBCAP in the East Providence Health Equity Zone. She is at our school a half day each week to meet with families. And so we find that the school ends up being the hub for families to reach out and ask for support. And that is a person who can work collaboratively with myself, the dean, the nurse, social worker, to do some of the things that we may not have the level of connection with, or even sometimes the time or capacity to the level at which the family navigator is working with the family. So when we think about the things that she's primarily doing, it's really around coordination of care, thinking about physical health, mental health. I would say her time so far at Hennessy this year, which started in probably mid-November, was really around food security, housing, bill assistance, and those kinds of things that came forward that I think until this time, while we worked directly with families, sometimes we were giving phone numbers or websites to go to versus someone to actually sit with and complete SNAP applications, or to actually make the phone calls with the person to keep the heat on and things like that. So it's been really a welcomed addition to our team, and I think a lot of families are beginning to utilize the service that's there, and I think that that will take time. So it's the next step is really this spring then to invite her to a lot of our community events, because when you're probably at your most vulnerable state, it's when you're least likely to reach out to someone that you don't know. And so the partnership has begun. It's definitely been a positive experience for us. The other component for us as a community school this year has been to host a play and learn series, which was new for me. So it's a baby and toddler series, much like a story hour in our library. Again, one morning a week, and we did coordinate that so that it's when the family navigator is on site, and the idea is to have families in our neighborhood feel more connected to the school prior to entering kindergarten. And so while we didn't have really huge enrollment, we didn't expect that the first time out of the gates, we did have regular enrollment from a handful of families. So we're excited to try that again in the fall. And I think one of the things I would say is, as a school leader, there have definitely been other things that have just come out of having this partnership with EBCAP and HES that we didn't have before. So now that they're in the school, there's some things that they're supporting. So they are supporting some expansion of our community gardening that will start next week. They're providing our families with summer resource bags that sort of take the work that we've done about sort of that bridge to summer learning to the next step, so that not just reading material, which we provide, it will include more information about summer meal access, trails, summer activities, additional housing and food resources, definitely beyond what I think some of us knew was available, and then the family navigator contact information, so that even though that she may not access them at Hennessy on Tuesday mornings in the summer, they still have that access when it is needed.
Next slide. So basically, I put this up here. I know that we often talk about what are we doing for the social emotional learning of students in our district, and I feel like this is one of the things that, as as a community, we are trying to work on. This talks about what is necessary and what it means to have what we're looking at when we're talking about social emotional learning. Next slide. And if you look back at our goals, I believe that we're in a good place, starting with our young and moving forward to really push this into a level that can really start to support our families in our district and continue this work moving up. And that's the end.
Thank you. Interesting.
Any questions?
Yeah.
was so good.
Any questions from the committee?
Thank you.
I just have one. Well, one, I mean, I think this is great, it's awesome. So you were saying like with the Head Start and the local early childhood centers, so is it that they would basically refer families to the school for that? And then, again, the resources, contacts are all made at the school, at Hennessy in this case? Or is there outreach? Is there like, to what extent does that happen?
So, right now, Hennessy's hub is really looking at their population, like their neighborhood. Our thought is that we're going to increase these into other schools. We're going to move forward. This is just like our start out, like pilot. Is it going to work in our city? So again, working with First 10 as a pilot, we're finding that this is really successful, and we're really seeing good things come from it. So we're hoping to expand into others so they can go to their own schools, so that they're not having to go to Hennessy. Some schools may not need it as much as others. You know, it is something that helps with some low-income families, obviously, all of the needs that you're looking at. So, you know, but it would be accessible in those schools. So like maybe another school doesn't actually have a Navigator because it doesn't need somebody full-time, would have somebody, would be, you know, able to go to another school and access it.
No, and I wasn't speaking necessarily to the other elementaries, but, you know, in each respective community, right, those early childhood centers would go to their local school that would have that resource. Is the vision or the plan or?
Yeah, and I think in addition to that, so I am the principal that sits on the First 10 committee, but not on all of the subcommittees so she's definitely the expert on the global picture. But I think some of the things that I've heard is about that coordination of the family experience, and some of the things that have come forward about how families, you know, feel more connected and more comfortable in those daycare type settings. It's just a different experience. And so I think part of it has been to inform, you know, the pre-K transition, but then the K transition, so that we can learn from some of the things that make that, have that feeling for them. And the play and learn comes from that. Like maybe if the bridge is built earlier, in early childhood, then those connections start to be made. You know, the nature of the setting is different, but I think there are things that can be learned from what's working there in terms of the overall family experience and feeling connected. So I think sometimes it's just about like the collaboration of services and sort of learning together about what families are looking for from schools.
You know what I like about what you brought up as a point, Joel, is, as I stated in the beginning, this came from pre-K to K transition. The original grant was pre-K to K transition, and because we were so strong in doing it in East Providence, that's probably why we were one of the sites that they chose to continue the work. So you're right. The early childhood years, everything is about family. It's very different for us, you know, security takes over, all these other things when kids get into elementary school. And so it's harder to get families in. Now, I mean, in pre-K, it's like they're in all the time. They're everywhere. Like, just, you know, there is no, like, well, there is security, Tony, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, so it's just that's the thing, is we really, really cater to families. And because they're babies, they come. Right? And that's the thing, that's the hope, is that we embed them so much that they want to continue this. And so we are working, the pre-K to K transition should turn into a K to 1 to realize that we do got to get better at making families feel part of it. And, you know, so again, it's a long-term project. The grant's 3 years, but obviously our work is going to go way beyond that.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, an update on the EPLAC meeting from Leslie Anderson and Sandy Ferran, who both attended that meeting. Just an update.
So just to reiterate what Tori had said earlier, we did have our meeting on April 27th, I believe that it was. We had a number of folks in attendance. Dr. Ferrandin addressed the outline for some program enhancements and enrichments, and we had a very positive response from families, and some of you were there as well. Mr. Chonas was there, Jessica Beauchesne was there, and so we had a very good conversation with folks, and I'll let Dr. Ferrand also pick up on that as well with any descriptions or anything that is detailed that you might want to know about.
So just a quick overview of the shift in our intensive resource, or what some people refer to as self-contained at the middle school. We really truly believe that students need to be included in regular ed classrooms as much as possible, and as appropriate to their needs. So our plan is to basically shift where they receive services. So they will be going into the regular ed classrooms as a group with a teacher and the TA, and that will give them the flexibility to move in and out as need be. So if there's a concept that's being taught in the regular ed classroom and they need to come out for reteaching, they'll have that opportunity. If a student needs a break, we have the personnel that might be able to take a student on a break if they need it. So really trying to meet their needs, but exposing them to content teachers that are highly qualified in the content, and access to that grade level content, and those role model peers that are in those regular ed classrooms. It also, so in our regular resource classes, students get support in ELA and math. This also gives us a little flexibility if some students maybe need extra support in science and social studies, that they can shift over to that other service model and still be in the regular ed classroom. So it's a work in progress. We met with the principals, we met with the department coordinators at the middle school, we met with the teachers, the IR teachers, to discuss it, to plan. We'll be meeting again, to work out some of the finer details, and we'll continue to make sure that it meets the needs of our students, and evaluate as we go along. This is our best thinking right now. We think this will meet the needs of our students, but it's a work in progress.
Through the chair. So it was a very good meeting, and I think there was a lot of good information that was put out. Will you continue to update us? As you said, it's a work in progress, so I'd like to know where the work is going to. Please, thank you.
I think that it's important to clear up a little bit of misinformation too, that some services are being taken from students, but actually we're going to be enriching and enhancing the amount of services that a student would be getting by supporting more content area than we were able to do before. And also giving students that opportunity for access to peers, rich conversation, vocabulary, content area specialists and teachers. So it's actually, the model will give them more than what they have right now. And flexibility.
And just, so we are moving that way in elementary school too. We had 3 schools that moved to basically a full inclusion model this year. And we don't offer these types of IR classes at the high school. So if we need to provide our middle school students support, but we also need to make sure that when they move up to the high school, that it's not such a dramatic change for them either, that we've prepared them, that they recognize the support. And the other thing at the high school where we had a little bit of a programmatic change is we had a lot of academic support classes. We are pulling back on some of those academic support classes because what we found is with that WIN block, we can now service students during the WIN block, which opens up another class for them where they can take an elective. So we're able to, by pulling back some of those academic support classes, and not all of them, because some students might still need that, what it's done is it's opened up some of the teachers' schedules, so we now will be able to service students in civics and biology, which are 2 classes that we see our students really struggling with IEPs that they weren't receiving support in. So I think that's a really good adjustment also, and that came from the teachers at the high school proposing that and seeing that they can use the WIN block to provide students with support in different subjects and not have to pull students into an academic support class now. So, you know, I really feel like there's some very positive changes that are in the best interest of students going on.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to add a comment. In speaking with you, Dr. Ferran, and getting I guess a big picture on those changes and innovations, and speaking with the teachers, principals, and all parties involved, it really shows that collaboration is being encouraged in our schools, and that's what I love to see, and hope to see continued, because that clearly, from what you know, you and Leslie have just spoken today, it really pushes for us to be able to increase the quality of education for our students, and that's what we really needed and love to see as well. So thank you, and thank you for taking the time today to also, you know, give us a review on that again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next,
Thank you.
Director of Teaching and Learning position. Dr. Ferran would like to propose that, taking her place rather than an assistant superintendent's position, she would like Director of Teaching and Learning position. Dr. Ferran, would you like to expound on that?
Sure. So as you can see, there's a job description in your packet, which is pretty lengthy. So this person will really oversee the educational piece, curriculum, instruction, professional development. They'll provide leadership, strategic vision, and coordinating, developing, implementing, and evaluating the district's instructional programs, assessments, and focus on assuming the district instructional staff have the instructional skills, pedagogy, materials, and background knowledge, including use of technology to increase student achievement. And that's just part of the blurb of the job description. But what I like about this position is it will be strictly focused on K-12 instruction, professional development, curriculum, and so that's where you know, their focus will lie in the district. And I like that there's coordination. You know, we're moving towards trying to have more coordination K-12. You know, we started a writing program at the middle school, and now we have the opportunity to participate in that at the elementary level in a pilot program. So we're really trying to put programs in place that address K-12 issues, and having somebody coordinate all that, I think is essential to keep us moving forward. So this, like Superintendent Crawley said, this would replace my current position. So we would have one assistant superintendent and a director of teaching and learning.
Any questions?
Okay. All right, next are the new salary ranges. I have it in your, oh, I'm sorry, did Jenny?
Sorry, yeah, I just had a question.
Right
I
ahead.
have trouble turning this mic on. Regarding, I saw that there was a note here on, you know, coming into to the school committee meetings and any other meetings that are related to, you know, what their job entitles. Do you think that that potentially, I'm not sure if this is completely unrelated to this or not, but do you think that potentially could become someone that can come and speak on like advances in curriculum on the agenda, just how we had previously discussed on what Max had said, not to completely bring that topic up, but to have that person be that focus and to relay that information to us as accurately as possible.
Yes. So I think that would definitely be part of this person's position. And like I said, I like that they have a focus strictly on the teaching and learning piece. We get pulled away from that a lot in our role to deal with other issues, and they wouldn't be dealing with a lot of the same things that an assistant superintendent would be doing. So I feel like they would have a really good handle and deep knowledge of all of the instructional issues in the district. So they would be the right person to come and speak on the curriculum and pedagogy and that type of stuff.
Thank you.
All right, last on the agenda, the new salary ranges as proposed by the school committee organization. Judy Spermuli puts it together. I have given you that in your packets to review for this coming year on all of the positions in the district. And that's the end of my report for this evening.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is the Director of Human Resources report by Mark Williamson.
Good evening. You'll find in your docket, first up is the category of resignations. We had a resignation of Mark Kudo, who is a maintenance C1 mechanic, and that was effective May 7th of 2022. We also had a retirement of George Bob.
Wait a minute. We're going to vote on each one. The resignations is only one, Mr. Williamson, so let them vote on that.
Sure.
Okay.
We have a resignation of
Accept.
Mr. Kudo. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second?
Second.
I think second by Ms. Azanaro. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Next up, under the category of retirements, we have a retirement of George Bob Courier, assistant principal at East Providence High School, and that will be effective July 30th, 2022. If I can offer a few words regarding Mr. Courier. He will be retiring as assistant principal of the East Providence High School as of July 29th, 2022. He has worked for the district for a total of 28 years. Bob was hired on September 6, 1994 as an English teacher at the East Providence High School. In 2009, he became the head of the English department at the high school and held that position until becoming the assistant principal of the high school in August of 2018.
I thank Mr. Courier for his service, and I will entertain a motion to accept, to allow him to retire.
I'll make that motion, and I want to thank Mr. Courier for his hard work, and he carried on a family tradition. His father retired from the school department also. Very, very helpful to the entire student body of East Providence High School. Thank you.
Agreed. We have a motion by Mr. Chonis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanaro. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Courier.
And for the committee's reference, we have a leave of absence that will be effective for the school year 22-23.
Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanaro. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next up on your docket, you'll see that we have 16 layoffs that will be effective the end of the 21-22 school year.
And just for sake of stating, this is as part of the process and not final.
Correct.
This is that process we have to go through every year.
Yes, before the June,
That's the end.
before the June 1st. I will get this right before I leave. Yes, that's, we have to notify them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are not coming back.
Do we?
Through the chair?
Yeah, please.
I have a question, and I guess this is always a painful discussion for us because we need good teachers, and we don't want to lose any good teachers. For my own knowledge, I don't want to assume that these teachers are all junior teachers. Are there any teachers here with over 20 years of service?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not always accurate to say that these are junior teachers in the department?
We didn't say that, no.
Okay.
Nope.
Are there more than 5 teachers, or there, where does the majority fall in on years of service?
It's hard to say, Mr. Chonas, but most of them are the low end of service, because that's how you lay off. You lay off the least senior person in a department, if it's high school or middle school, according to certification. If it's in elementary, you lay off the least senior person that has an elementary certification.
And Superintendent, since you're answering the question, the EPEA is fully aware of everybody that's on this list.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, I'm sure,
yes.
I'm sure they are.
Yes.
It's just, I find it a little bit strange that we happen to have a professional here with over 20 years of service.
That's a certification issue, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to quickly follow up with that. This is one of the first times I've noticed that. Does this have to do with anything of the changing of the way that principals hire?
No.
No, it does not.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Strictly a layoff.
My understanding, right, is that this is strictly availability of jobs matched with available certified employees.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Okay. And when we look at what this number represents in total number of employees, and Superintendent Crowley or Dr. Ferran, whichever is, would like, we don't anticipate reducing our staffing by this number that's on this list.
No.
Okay. Any other questions? So having been vetted with the EPEA, I will entertain a motion to accept this list of layoffs. Every year.
Every year, but we need a motion. You will not be in compliance.
It's not all
right.
Bubblegum and rainbows.
No,
I
but
mean, we've got to go through the process, and comes with the job. But again, I think we've done a good job as a district on the recalls. We celebrate those days every year. So again, I think we all, or most of us up here, know from being here year after year, right, that this is a necessary piece. And
So if I do recall, I ask for this list every year, and I sit here with it every meeting after today until everyone is called back, one of which got Teacher of the Year tonight. So I do want to remind you, that's been done numerous times. Once again, this is one of the hardest things, especially when you see amazing educators on here. I still am not going to be the first person.
Understand the process. You have certain teachers that are displaced because, for example, the program may have changed. So those people that are displaced, you have to have a job for them by contract. So that displaced person will cause one of these people, these senior people, to be laid off at the present time. We don't have all of our numbers, as you know. For example, kindergarten right now is a slow registration. We do feel that that is going to increase, but we don't know that for sure. So we have to take a precaution to protect the district. So in case it doesn't increase, you're not, you know, you don't have teachers that necessarily you don't need because of your numbers. And I think, and I could be wrong, but Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think on our layoffs, we've pretty much hired most of our teachers back, because I don't recall having any on the layoff list, correct? For jobs. So we have recalled everybody. Otherwise, we would have this list, you know, and yeah. So we have done a pretty good job of that. This is a precautionary for most.
Well, I think that's an important point, right? So this is
Correct.
effective after school year is done, and where these people, some of them may have been bumped by a more senior person.
Correct.
They're technically, they don't have a seat come September.
Right now.
Right, and until the administration works over the next couple of months
Right.
to align everyone.
Correct.
and
Just
put
one of
in-
those times you want to bring an extra chair to the table.
Yeah, you know, but again,
It's the process, it's what we
part
have
of
to
the
do.
process, it's not, you know,
I don't know why we have to do it yet.
It's a law.
It's a law, but we
Yeah.
we don't hire the teachers. We just lay them off.
You just lay them off, right? I
Hope
know.
someone loves this job. out
And
there
that
in
part,
TV
I think, is
world.
ridiculous.
It's not
is
easy.
that we're required to do the
well,
prove that.
And
yeah, I mean, I wish,
Did you make a motion?
I wish they,
No.
I wish they,
I did not.
I wish they labeled it as, you know, like notification of potential, because that's essentially what it is, right? It's really putting them
I
on
mean,
notice
if that was the
that,
case, that information,
I'm
you
sorry?
know, would have been nice
I
to
have
have had
to
then. If that's,
by
if
law
that, if
label
there's
it this
that much
way.
background for every single person as to why they're on the, on
but we
this
can't
list,
know
well
that,
then,
you know, I mean, now you get into
No.
the
It's like
minutia,
if
but,
we had a whole bunch of kids and they needed to go to school and they needed more teachers. But, you know, you see a leave of absence up there already that we've already done, so one of these people maybe can get that job.
Correct.
right,
That's
Correct.
the first thing I think of. It's
Correct.
the process, I understand, but I don't have to be the person, because I've gotten laid off in my life when
Well-
I was a teacher.
But someone someone really has to make the motion.
I make a motion,
Thank you.
and I'm not happy with it at all.
Thank you. I
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is something you legally have to do.
Every year,
Every year.
every year.
What happens if, what?
And for those of us that have been here every, like, multiple
can't.
years, this,
So when someone retires and I say no,
It doesn't matter.
they still retire.
Right.
Now I'm the only one that looks like the bad guy
You can
here.
make a you can second it, can't you? Can you second it? Can you second it? No.
so we have a motion, can we get a second?
I can take your gavel. We can switch.
The alternative is to not notify anyone, and then when you're running,
That's a
God
problem.
forbid if you're running
I'll
heavy.
second.
There's,
Thank you.
yeah, there's a problem with
Second by
that.
Mr. Brandel, but I'll finish my statement just for the point. The critics don't hesitate to come out and point fingers when they think that we're overstaffed anywhere. And this is part of that process of basically telling the taxpayers, we are not employing anyone until we have an assigned job for them. And we've always done a very good job of creating or finding those seats for these folks. But if we don't go through this process, then you're exposing the district and the taxpayers to excessive spending without knowing. You know, it's basically saying, yeah, you know, go buy X, Y, Z, and just trust me, I'll find a way to, you know, to put it to use. This helps to reduce that risk to the taxpayer. It's kind of an obligation of ours that we signed up for. So with that, we have a motion by Ms. Beauchene, second by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1.
And I did learn at a meeting that just because I make a motion, I don't have to say.
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure everyone here at this table understands that. You can still motion something, but not agree with it. Just wanted to make that clear to everyone. And also, I would like a letter every week. I'd like this same list of names in front of me so I can see how long it takes.
Every month.
Every month, till they get their job, hopefully their jobs back.
And understand too, you have to be certified to be able to teach, and you have to be certified in the area, or you will get fined for having someone that doesn't have proper certification. That person won't get approved because we have to fill out a report every single year as to our certifications of our teachers, and if there's something that doesn't match their job, it will bump out, and it affects us. So you have to know there are some intricacies in this that...
And so if you don't have, if you no longer have, if you were teaching needlepoint and you eliminated needlepoint and that teacher only was certified in needlepoint,
Correct.
and you didn't approve this list, then the following year you would basically pay a salary for someone who could not do a single job in the district. Because
Catherine can use me as an example.
And you couldn't hire that person.
It's also a lesson in keep up your certification.
Yes.
Because if you lose it, you can't get it back that easily.
I've been telling her that, yes. And we know that, when you lose it,
But again, we're not here just for
no.
the easy, there's quite a few difficult decisions that we make.
Correct.
Anyway, next please. Thank you, sir.
Next up, we have a paraprofessional termination that was effective April 14th of 2022.
Any issues with this process, everything?
I'm sorry?
Any challenges or issues with this termination?
No.
I make a motion.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
What's that?
Second.
Oh. Do I have a motion by Ms. Azanaro? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, Mr. Chairman, we have the rescindment of a contract for a principal's position, and we are conducting interviews next week for new candidates for that position.
Know that we have to.
Yes, you do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Happily motion for his rescindment.
You say you made a motion?
Yep,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Motion by Ms. Boshain,
Second.
second by Ms. Azanaro. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll attempt to end on a happy note. We do have some appointments that are listed on your docket. Paula Rodriguez was appointed as a custodian nights for Waddington effective May 2nd, 2022. Mr. Chair, I don't know if the board wants to do these individually or if you want me to do this as a group.
Yeah, we actually don't approve appointments.
No.
So it's for informational purposes?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So next up is the appointment of Joseph J. Montero as the Assistant Athletic Director, and that will be effective August 1st of '22. Next up is Daniel Cabral as the Assistant Athletic Director, effective August 1st, '22. And finally, the appointment of Alfred Villanove, the Interim Director of Technology, and that will be effective May 16th of '22.
And just for clarification, by the way, Alfred, thank you. Couldn't be happier. I do believe that that contract will come before us for
Yeah.
a vote of
Yes.
approval because
Absolutely. Yep.
it's non-union. That's
Yep.
But with anticipation, ready for that one, speaking for myself, and I think the rest of us.
That's all I have for this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Next item, please.
Next is the Director of Finance report by Craig Enos.
Craig is away. You have it in your packet, though. I'm talking to it. And you have it in your packet. Are there any questions relating to that? If not, you can save them till next month. Okay.
Next item.
Next is the Policy Committee report by Jessica Beauchesne.
Okay, I'm gonna just make this short and sweet, just in case you have not read it all. The dress code. I met with Shout this week at the high school. I met with RMS Student Council and Martin Student Council about the dress code. The dress code is in the student code of conduct, but yet it's still a policy that we manage. On that note, it depends on what student contact you get that from and how they're written, because they're all different. So, that being said, without, my next job is I'm going to go speak to the principals with the information I got from the students and get their feedback, because that's, in my opinion, the right thing to do. And then I will draft it. But before we do, I just want to let you know the common theme that happened with the dress code, because I think it's extremely important that every school that I went to had the same theme. And if you don't know, because there is nobody here tonight, which is shocking, being dress coded is now a verb. So you are dress coded in school. It's a verb that students hear on pretty much every day. So here is what they said. All schools that I went to. It's not consistent. What one thinks is wrong, what one thinks is right, inconsistency. Confidence. Being told that you're being dress coded by one person in the hallway in front of all your friends, students are losing their confidence. All of them told me that they're being called out. They're not asked to step aside, they're being called out. Again, this is just a small group of students from each school. Inequality. Number one was equality. What females wear versus what males wear was a big issue. I purposely wore different outfits to every school just to see what would happen. I did, I'm not lying. I saw different outfits between administrators, staff, different types of staff, maybe a science teacher, phys ed teacher. The majority of the students feel as though stuff isn't appropriate. You know, violence on shirts, vulgarity, illegal substances on clothes. I guess there was an incident in the high school where somebody brought a different type of something that they should not have brought. They all agreed, the whole Shout team all agreed that was inappropriate. It was handled and put away. That being said, we do have a dress code policy that says headgear. Headgear can be numerous things. It says hat/headgear. I need to take that out for religious reasons, in my opinion, cultural reasons. I don't think it should be in there. One policy states headgear and gives examples of headgear, which a member of the Shout team believes that it is racial. And I agreed with that person. I agreed with a lot of what the kid said, but I also understand the need for some of this stuff. And that's why I would like to speak to the principals about it. Once again, the dress codes are different based on middle schools, high school, and elementary school. There is a policy out there, which I no longer can find, that states you may not wear shorts during quarters 2 and 3. I've not defined it now. It was there when I originally started to do this dress code. I don't know if that was one of the elementary schools.
It's here.
It's number 7.
Oh, thank you.
It's here.
Number 7, thank you on the high school. I have Martin and Riverside's here too. So yeah, I'd like to take that out as well. I don't understand it. So going forward, this is one of the only things left. You know, we do have a lot of whatever, but I think we get to speak for students, and I think we need to figure out what is important and what isn't important. You know, hygiene came up in the conversations between middle school and high school, that is a distraction. What did not come up was everything in our current dress code policy says distraction, distraction. No student told me that they are distracted by what another student wears. Not one, which is amazing, except for hygiene, which meant smell. So I would like you guys to look at it. If you have comments, questions, please email me so that when we go to fix it, and that's what I'm using the term fix it, I can't find 3/4 length shorts at this current time for myself. So if you can send me to a place.
They're called capri.
Oh, the capris, yes. Or they're called shop in my mom's section. So therefore, I understand where the kids are coming from.
Okay.
So on that note, so let's go on to the,
All right. Can you send this to Ben too, so he could review it? Because
all
there-
of them, all the different ones.
No, when you finalize some of it, because there are some
course.
legalities to some of the things you've been talking about, we want
Right.
to make sure we're well within the
Right,
legal limits.
and
Yeah.
one thing is cell phones, and I know, you know, no more bringing
That's the
pagers to
law.
school, kids, either. No more pagers. Like, you can't bring pagers. When I had to explain that to a child, it was tough. But the cell phones, they do allow cell phones sometimes. Kids do use them for cahoots
class.
and personal reasons.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out where the drawing board is, and that's what I hope to get with the principals. They can sit with our sit team. We can just work it out. So
Yep.
by the fall, we have something that
Yes.
looks a lot better than the current one.
Okay.
And I think the issue on how you address a violation also needs to be included in the policy on how students are being informed. Because calling out a student in front of their peers is, I don't know, in my opinion, also kind of, it's demeaning. It hurts them, it's embarrassing, and also that fractures a relationship between a student and a teacher. You don't want there to be any sort of resentment if day after day it's,
Hey,
you know, the same thing.
one of the kids said to me, some bodies just don't work like that. And I thought to myself, you know what? We're all different shapes and sizes, so all clothes are gonna fit differently. And the other one child said to me, which if we could just make this the dress code policy, I'd be happy. And it said, make smart choices. So, you know, that's where we're at with that one. The next is the anti-bullying policy, which you guys have, and you also have the state
Yeah.
requirement.
The statewide bullying policy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, any comments, concerns? I know we're up for a report on our bullying. I think we need to get one once a year.
Yep, in June.
Yep.
It may not be June, it may be actually July, because by the time we wait till the end of the school year. And I think
I
there are
still-
meetings before that.
I still would like, and maybe Alfred can help at some point. I know it's confidential and stuff, but there is a way we can do it because other districts have it. But on our school website, a button that says report bullying anonymously. I really would like that. Other schools have had very good. I just think it would be an option that we need to look at.
Okay.
Anybody else? Want my last one?
Yeah.
Okay. This one was brought to us, and I think it is something that we need to look at, and that's the challenge materials things. I don't think we're a district that is going to, I don't know how to put this into words. This gives it the opportunity, if someone challenges something that is found in the library, that it goes through a process and not is just taken off the shelf and put away. This gives opportunities for people a committee of many different people to make a decision on whether or not that material is taken away. I don't want to be a district, I don't want to sit on a school committee that decides that because one person thinks that something is not appropriate, that we dismiss that. So that's where this came from. I did not write it, but I do think it is pretty darn good. So.
I think this is an important piece, and you said it provides a process so that the complaint needs to be, legitimate and not emotional or reactionary, but then also the decision is not, subjective.
Correct. And none of this is for first read. This is just to bring to your attention that I will be bringing this for first read. So if you have any questions, concerns, call me, email me what you'd like changed, because once again, we're a body of 5. I don't make the decision for all of us here.
I will be preparing a document with all the changes I recommend, because this packet, there's other links here that are provided that weren't printed out, such as the, I think it was like the criteria form and all that. I think that needs to be refined some more. It's too open-ended, because that can go either way. So to be able to strengthen this policy, I think that's essential to what criteria, because it's too open-ended. It's just open questions. There's no sort of like rubric, although it doesn't have to be as confined as that. But I think a more thorough rubric on what exactly is going to be evaluated would definitely, I think, strengthen this a little bit more than where we're at. But I'll prepare that for next time, and I'll also send that over to you, Jessica, for you to take a look at it. We can discuss as well.
And then we can send it to Ben and see, make sure that we're good to go.
Yeah.
Agree with you.
Oh, interestingly, I did take a look at other states' schools as well. I did take a look at the legal. I did take a look at other states' schools as well. I did take a look at the legal aspects as well and what the boundaries are of that, to make sure that we are with, being compliant. So the changes that I am going to be making, trust me, I've done plenty of late research on that. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, next item, please.
The next item is the Building Committee report by Joel Montero.
I know that guy. All right. You all have the hard copy in front of you. I don't know if Alfred, if you want, I don't think we need to. You want to bring it up? Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to kind of 30,000 foot hit the highlights on this. Again, our temporary certificate of occupancy is running through September. And so you'll notice commissioning issues log. So commissioning continues, the systems, the heating and cooling systems continue. We're doing thermostat replacements. Some were found to be faulty, so that will extend that. And plus, we're coming into the warmer months. So that will absolutely continue. So Milestones going through, again, you see the site work, there's plenty of trees, shrubbery, some of your water retainage you can see coming into place when you drive onto the site. The Pawtucket Avenue new entrance is projected to be complete June 6th. So, they're dealing, one of the issues there is when you pull in, and eventually when it's a two-way road, the telephone pole that's on the right, they just need to move that about 10 feet or so north. So there may be some delay where you see a a jersey barrier around that pole, but it's not going to restrict, as it does not today, access to that space. The clock tower, again, the clock component is going to do it on a lift, believe it or not. That was their choice. They prefer to do it that way. Again, tennis courts, end of mid-August, expected to be completed, as well as softball field. You're parking in the roads right through the end of August. Again, MWBE will pretty much hold status quo. We exceeded the 10% lofty goal, which is quite an accomplishment. Again, I talked about the pole relocation, and there's also some work going on. The secondary entrance and exit to the north, which will line up with the shopping plaza, will have a stoplight control, turning lane with the stoplight coming in and out. They're working with DOT and the DPW to make sure that they can put in a foundation to support the post, because there's a water line that was not on the books that is running by the existing base. So good old EP, we didn't necessarily document what we did in the past, but it'll be done correctly this time around. And yeah, you're right with me. Thanks, Alfred. So I kind of scoot down. We're, the week of May 16th, install softball curbing. So basically the perimeter edge around the softball field, the drainage will go in, hydrants, water line, and as I said, the staging for the clock tower will come down. And you see the photos of the site. Main entrance coming in, the 2 flag poles, which in this picture do not have flags on them, but they will. Baseball, softball field. Again, you can just kind of scroll through them. Softball field has also pitching and, I believe, pitching and batting as well, just like the baseball. And you'll notice that the former south entrance is pretty much gone. They chopped into that hill to lay out the softball field. And you can go right to the first page of financials. Thank you. So owner contingency, we're still sitting on about $3.1 million in that bucket. Construction contingency, just over 1.1, and owner allowance is 1.8, and COVID allowance at about over 350,000 in COVID allowances for any claims that might be submitted. So we are continue to be under budget, and you have the full report at your disposal. And I will thank you, Alfred. I will update the school committee as well to say that the building committee approved a 1-year maintenance contract for the high school to handle the systems, to schedule preventative maintenance, filters, and many other components that none of us here at this table are familiar with. But that contract was approved, and Craig is issuing an RFP for a multi-year contract so that we can get multiple bids to review and consider to do a multi-year contract. But a 1-year contract on the building is signed and in place.
Okay. Next.
Any questions?
Through the chair.
Please.
There are still an existing punch list that we're working on.
Absolutely, and that will go through. They continue to do some stuff in the evenings or afternoons, anything outside or what have you, but there's also a good amount of stuff that will be done over the summer. one of those in particular, and just to, to me, I think it highlights the level of scrutiny that is being done. Most know that the gym floor was redone, the white wasn't quite white. Well, in that refinishing, there was an immediate rejection of the poly finish, the smoothness of it. Literally the first meeting that we had with Peregrine, our OPM, they notified us that they'd already told Gilbane to let that vendor know that they're coming back to do it again. So to not get in the way of school activities, that will be done in the summer as well. So that's just as an example, but yes.
So it's an ongoing process. It
Absolutely.
continues forward.
Absolutely.
And then just one other thing. Every once in a while I'm asked, are we planning to do any more tours of this school? Are we planning to offer those to the public?
That would definitely not up to the building committee or the project if the.
Well, I'm asking as a general question. I mean, anybody can answer it.
Yeah.
You could,
No.
I think we said they would go through the principal of the building. Didn't we? We had this conversation
Well, I
before.
think he's talking about not
like
an
a
individual,
general
but.
public
So I mean,
opening?
that's something that,
A high school,
we
a
could
new high
probably.
school tour, yeah.
Yeah, we could probably take that up with the administration to see if, maybe in the summer, if there's an appetite for that, and we can get some folks together and do another round of it. I don't think it'd be a bad idea.
No, I think there's still a desire out there.
Yeah.
Even though we had 1,000 people go through, I think there's still others, this is a 50,000
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
So I
No,
think a lot of people want to see the inside of the school, so
Yeah.
it might be a good thing for us to do. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, next item, please.
The next item is discussion items.
Okay, the resolution before you is a resolution related to the high school graduation requirements. This resolution, if accepted by you, will go to the Rhode Island Board of Education as well as to the Rhode Island Department of Education. It basically concerns some of the regulations that are going to be changed for high school graduation. That would be increasing the world language to everyone taking 2 years of a foreign language, everyone taking an Algebra 2 course before they graduate. It would be requiring a study of computer science, taking away from some of the electives, and that is the problem with the requirements. The more requirements you have, the less opportunity the students have to take some of the electives, and especially the CTC electives, which require so many hours. So I would recommend that you support this resolution. The Superintendent's Association has sent in something as well to the Board of Ed and to RIDE objecting to the changes in the high school graduation.
Yeah, and essentially, right, the pushback to RIDE is to deliver basically an impact statement, financial impact statement, as to how these changes would impact every district.
Right.
And how those additional costs will be covered. In addition to, the restrictions that it gives, puts on students with course selection and electives.
The other thing is, you're going to require foreign language. We can't even get the foreign language teachers that we need. Again, the shortage in teachers, you're going to hear me say that until I leave, is eminent, and we have difficulty getting foreign language teachers. We have difficulty getting math teachers, and they're going to make this requirement, of everybody taking Algebra 2. Now, I was a math teacher, and the kids would say, why do I have to take this, And I'd say, oh, it teaches you a way of thinking. Well, I think financial literacy is a better avenue for students than Algebra 2 in some instances. A plumber doesn't need the Algebra 2, but he needs financial literacy if he's going to operate his own business and be a successful businessman. We are encouraging those going to college certainly to take your math and your science and your English, which are requirements. Unfortunately, it's the colleges that require 2 years of a foreign language for students. you know, we're trying to push back as a group, the superintendents, to have colleges look at that. And in reality, is that necessary for every student to have 2 years of a foreign language? So I would certainly ask you to support this resolution as a body.
Any questions? Okay. And the next item we already addressed with regards to the school bond ballot item. We'll take care of that in the action items. Which is next, action items. First is consider and vote to approve bill list.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Chonas, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Consider and vote to approve the contract for the incoming superintendent, Dr. Ferran.
I make the motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Boshain, I think,
Second.
second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Could you table number 3, please?
Motion carries. So item number 3, superintendent's requesting that we table. So I'll take a motion to table.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Boshain to table item 3, the approval of the contract extension for the plant manager. Second by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Consider vote to approve resolution on proposed high school graduation requirements.
I make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Boshain. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
1, 5.
So I think 5 through 11.
So, now I didn't know until yesterday, I didn't even think of this, that Craig's not here. So,
But the building committee did approve all these.
right, no, the building committee did approve. So, items 5 through 11 are all related to the school project.
Right.
And we're all approved by the
Um,
Correct.
And I don't, so you guys have that,
Yep, we have it.
right?
Yep,
Yeah,
we have it all.
Okay,
yeah,
so we can do them all together
yeah.
without Mr. Enos here to cite through them?
I'll make a
You'd
motion
like.
to approve 5 through
11?
11.
Yeah.
Second. I already looked at it.
Was that a motion, Jeff?
Yes, I make a motion
Alright.
to approve 5 through 11, all the invoices associated with the high school.
All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Boshain, a second by Ms. Azanero, and just for stating, that's invoices for AI3, Peregrine, Gilbane, Stephen Turner, Delsh, and construction invoices to reimburse high school and furniture, fixtures, and equipment invoices. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, consider vote to approve a Director of Teaching and Learning position.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 13, consider a vote to approve separation agreement with certified employee.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Boshain. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, consider and vote to approve the custodians' collective bargaining agreement. Do we have a
Move
motion?
to approve.
Motion by Ms. Azanero. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by,
Ladies first.
who's that?
Ladies first.
Ladies first, so second by Ms. Boshain. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Again, so on item 15, I would maybe entertain an amended version of this to have the school committee send a letter of support to the city council
Do we know what
in
meeting?
support of this resolution, this bond resolution.
Tuesday. Is this Tuesday, their meeting?
Correct.
Do we send it, like,
So-
ourselves? Do we go to it?
No, well, so
Hand deliver
what
it?
I would suggest is that Sharon draft up a letter that each of you will get a copy of, and I'll sign on behalf of the committee, just stating our support of this resolution.
I will make a motion to do just that.
We have a motion by Ms. Boshain. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanera. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Going to table.
Item 16, if we could table this Munis financial software so that Mr. Enos can be present. I felt that the committee would have, I know I had questions, a contract of this size, which I think is needed, but I think it's only right that we have him present to answer any questions. So I will, as the committee would like, I'll entertain a motion to table this.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Chonas to table item 15, I'm sorry, item 16, Munis financial software contract. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanera. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to table. And consider vote to approve the MO, so we're going to table that one because
Gonna
we don't
table
have that.
Till the amendment, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion to table item 17, please.
I'll make the motion to table.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanera. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to table. And I'm going to assume that we have,
No public.
there's no public comment. Any announcements from the committee?
It's 8:50.
That's a new record.
8:50.
Do we have a motion to
Excluding the
adjourn?
first- The first meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn. No one said it.
Motion by Ms. Boshain, seconded by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.